Now, I'm not much of an SUV guy, but there's something I really like about this Honda Pilot. See if you can find out what it is, and we'll discuss it live when we come back. The 2009 Honda Pilot. It's not a sports car. It's not supposed to be. It's actually quite comfortable. And that is the reaction Honda is aiming for. Redesigned for 2009 to add more utility and more luxury than before. But Honda hasn't delivered a Pimp Daddy cruiser or a jungle wagon. No, they've upped the luxury but also kept it modestly sporty at the same time. Lay the throttle down, it just goes a which is really butch. Very cool touch. Lots of little gauges. We have the nav system. It also has a little computer here that shows us our instant fuel mile per gallon. And if we keep the revs low enough, we're rewarded with an eco light. The little green light says eco. Like, good for you. It's a pat on the head. What that light is really about is that behind the scenes, the Pilot is deactivating 1 to 3 cylinders to improve gas mileage. So it is doing something. The model we're testing today is the 4-wheel drive Touring Edition, and it is loaded. Don't you hate it when you walk up to your car and you actually have to use your hand to lift the back? Well, Honda has a nice feature in the Pilot. It'll do it for you. How cool is that? Of course, other cars feature this same gimmick, but it's not a very common option for a car that starts under 30 grand. The auto trunk is just the start of the techie hit parade. Our car also has a pull-up sunscreen, rear passenger temperature and audio controls, as well as a massive cargo area that's good for your triple venti Uber lattes. Also keeps your coins and service manual in easy reach. Honda's navigation system, and steering wheel mounted controls, as well as a DVD player in the rear. So say you got some kids in the back, just get these headphones, which are wireless. See, left and right. Yeah! Oh, but that's not everything. There's also a 512-watt stereo with XM radio, CD changer, iPod USB interface, Bluetooth hands-free, which we weren't able to get working. It also has cruise control, 8-way power leather seats, rear view mirror, proximity sensor, sunroof, third-row seating, stability control, active noise cancellation, and that's pretty much it. Under the hood is Honda's 3.5-liter V6, which gets between 16 and 22 miles to the gallon. Let's be honest, though. If you're driving a V6 SUV, economy is not your priority. I think I could personally do without the automated lift rear. That's just not something that I really need every day. My friends would totally make fun of me. Although my wife, when she has 2 bags of groceries and a little one in her arms, it'd probably make things a little easier for her. Can't knock that. In a way, I prefer the Nissan Pathfinder, because it feels, from head to toe, it feels like it's meant to be a basic off-road, purpose-built vehicle. This car has a lot of little fussy touches that kind of make it think that, well, it's really built for the city, so let's just kind of ignore the off-road capability. Although it does have a fully locking, the VTM4 lock. I assume that's a center diff lock because it has a little picture of a center diff. So that's pretty cool. That could probably be very useful. Unfortunately, they don't like us to press cars into too rugged of off-road conditions, lest we damage them in the process, which would be very uncool. The 2009 Honda Pilot 4-wheel drive Touring Edition we tested today runs a cool $39,000. So the question remains, would I buy one? It's comfortable, it's nice, it's pretty well equipped for the price. Yeah, I think I'd probably put it on my list, at least one to take a look at. I love the note. The exhaust note is just fantastic for one of these type of vehicles. It's really well thought out. It's very well equipped for the money. I don't think I'd go with all the gizmos, and that'll keep the price down a little bit lower, probably down into the low to mid 30s, which I think would be a pretty good price to pay for a car that has these kind of capabilities and this level of comfort. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the interior trim pieces, but you know, that's okay. It's not a huge deal. I'm sure you can option it out without the little glass insets, which is too fussy for me.
But so I got to play with some of the navigation features.
Yeah, you were fiddling with the iPod interface for quite a while.
You can hook your iPod right into it, and it's just not very intuitive. I wasn't happy with the iPod interface.
I do have to have a comment on that, because I just drove back from Portland, as some people might know, because I went down to the Portland Auto Show just today, and I have an RX-8. In my RX-8, I have the iPod interface kit. Now, what that does is it makes it so I have the actual like edge connector for an iPhone. So the one thing that I liked about the Pilot was the fact that it was a traditional USB interface. So all you had to do was you had your own cable, which you plugged into the USB. You didn't have to have a custom cable that in 10 years may no longer be used by anybody. And further, you at least have the screen. On the RX-8, you have this cryptic, I mean, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, well, number is playlist, second number is song, third number is place in song, that kind of stuff. That kind of makes sense. But when you actually use it, I found myself kept going back to like AC/DC constantly. I'm like, that's not the song I wanted. It didn't, even having read the manual and knowing conceptually how it works, and I've had that car now for about 8 months, and I still can't figure out the iPod interface.
Well, just be glad it's AC/DC and ABBA isn't at the top of your playlist.
True. You know, with the Pilot going down to the Super Bowl party, that was only an hour-and-a-half drive. We got it figured out by the time we got down there, so it wasn't horrible. And you could at least see, you know, all of your ABBA playlist constantly on the screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can somebody check on the window over there? Do we have any questions on the Pilot?
If you do have questions on the Pilot, we will get to them at the end of the show. Right now, I think we're going to hit a commercial and come back to take a look at what Ryan saw at the Portland Auto Show today.
Yeah, sure. We'll do that. This is live. Anything can happen. This is live. Anything can happen.